Hello. Welcome. Welcome everybody to the second Agora talks of the Agora of this session of Agora. And thank you for waking up so early. It seems that strong Arthouse releases is a question that you want to you are interested in and you want to listen to. So thanks to our speakers, I'm gonna thank first in the list Christian Bräuer, who is the president of CICAE, and also leading the Yorck Kino group in Berlin. Then we have Ilias Georgiopoulos that is an exhibitor, distributor, also Danaos film in Athens. We have Ifigeneia Vlachogianni, sorry, I'm very bad at introducing. So she's an exhibitor. She's also member of the Greek Film Center. So she will speak and she's also member of the association of the exhibitors. Then we have Mira Staleva, who is here with us this morning, and we thank her for popping up so fast. And then we have Marcin Pienkowski, the director of New Horizon, and also an exhibitor and member of CICAE also. No, no. Okay. Thanks to our partners, the CICAE, of course, CICAE, and also. Is part of CICAE, so I'm not okay. And also thanks to Berlin Parliament for supporting us in this, and the city of Berlin for supporting this first talk. So the floor is yours. Thank you, Marcin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, everyone. It's good to be at the Thessaloniki International Film Festival. Elise did the job and introduced wonderful panelists, excellent experts in exhibition or distribution, sometimes in both these fields. I want to inform you that during the last 20-30 minutes of our panel, the floor will be given to all of you. So please note your comments and questions, and feel free to join the discussion a bit later. And maybe some of us will be at your disposal afterwards during a coffee break also, if you have any additional questions. So we have representatives from different territories, different markets, Greece, Bulgaria, Germany, Poland also. So I think it would be reasonable to start with saying a few words about the general landscape of general situation of cinemas in our countries. I would like each of you to say what is the situation in your country, at your market. What are the numbers comparing to pre-pandemic times? What are the main changes and challenges you are facing now? So, like, briefly to start the discussion. So, Mira, maybe you would start.
Test. So, good morning, everybody. I'm coming from Bulgaria, just over there, 300 kilometers. But it's a totally different market comparing to the Greek one. But just to brief you about my background, I'm a managing director of Sofia Film Festival, and we are also distributor and exhibitors. We are running the biggest art house cinema in Sofia. Cinema house, Dom na Kino. So a very brief overview of the situation, the post-pandemic. Okay, we are still not there. Kind of, the people are still not back in cinemas, although there is a desire, but we're witnessing the change of habits, kind of, and it's very obvious. When it comes for a festival or for specially organized events connected with some premieres, yes, people are coming. But on a regular basis in the cinema, and kind of I'm talking as a cinema operator and as a distributor, people are still not there. And I think somehow all we know is that it's here. The elephant is in the room. And for me, of course, we're going to talk and discuss later this, but for me, it's how we can brainstorm it all together, because we're talking about human beings which love cinema. So we can together find some efficient ways. But maybe another detail for you. Bulgaria doesn't have that many cinema theaters. The multiplexes traditionally don't screen art house films. So the art house films are shown only in the art house cinemas, which are really not enough. Let's say in Sofia we have 6, but in big towns like Varna and Plovdiv we have only 1, which is totally unacceptable, and it's a huge problem, the lack of infrastructure. Lack of cinema theaters automatically means lack of distribution, because if you don't have cinema, you don't buy films. So the Bulgarians are mostly pirating, which is like a national sport. But if you don't have an access for some of the titles, what you do? So yeah, I think it's a mission for everybody to keep the cinema theaters, the temples of the cinema alive.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ifigeneia. I'm a cinema owner. It's a family business, and we run 3 cinemas in a rural area. It's half an hour from here, from the city of Thessaloniki. And 2 years ago, we had participated in a pilot program as members of the Europa Cinemas network. And it was called Cinemas as Innovation Hubs in Rural Areas. So this means that we tried simply to participate in labs, in lounges, so as to find strategies and ways to bring our audience back. Also, as a member of the board of the Greek Film Center, I have to tell you that the market is difficult. And it's difficult because there was no product during the pandemic. That's why the cinemas closed. That's why the cinemas were forced to adapt strategies in order to run and to turn their operation into positive advantages in order to gain from the pandemic. So what we have to do now is to just analyze how to find the ways and to demonstrate strategies in order to bring audience back, and also how to improve art house releases in order to gain both exhibitors and both distributors. Both parties must cooperate each other in order to gain and to have the most possible results in order to make the market and the whole cinema industry survive and prosper. So we are going to make our presentation later, and we're going to get into detail about what I'm talking about.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ilias. I am a cinema owner in Athens. We operate a 2-screen art house cinema called Danaos, and I also operate an open-air cinema called Anesis. As Ifigeneia said, the situation in Greece is not so good. We have a very big drop in attendance. The market is going to close. The pre-pandemic numbers were around 10 million tickets, and now we're going to go to 5.56 million, more or less. Is that correct release? Something like this? 40% drop. As Ifigeneia said, during the pandemic, the cinemas were open last year, but we had a shortage of films. European films were not circulating so much. Distributors were being hesitant to release them. Me, as a distributor too, because I have a distribution company called Danaos Films, I also I was very careful with my releases. For example, I had a very big film called The Worst Person in the World, which was it was nominated for 2 Oscars, and everybody was telling me release the film in March, and I said March is terrible, I cannot do this. So I waited for July, and for me it was a very big success. The film did very, very well. So one thing I wanted to say too is that the summer session in Greece is better in comparison to the winter, because people feel more comfortable going to open-air cinemas. And this year, as in last year, there were many big films released during the summer, films which were normally released during the winter, mainly Oscar-nominated films, prize-winning films. And that is also a problem for us that operate closed cinemas, as we call them here in Greece. An example of this is the film that won the Palme d'Or, called Triangle of Sadness. It's a film that would 100% be released before the pandemic on November or December, and this year it was released at the end of August. So that was something that was not part of our program. Okay, we're going to go into more detail later on. Christian, your turn now.
Yeah, so thank you, and thank you all of you. On behalf of CICAE, I want to thank the panelist Marcin, and especially the Berlin delegation, the Member of Parliament, Notke, Simone Baumann, and especially also Medium Board, who's supporting us so strong here, right in the corner. Yeah, I'm Christian. You told I'm CEO of Yorck Kino Gruppe. It's 14 Arthouse cinemas in Berlin, and also president of CICAE, it's the International Confederation of Arthouse Cinemas. And we are, of course, very strong and close with Europa Cinemas. That's a network of European cinemas dedicated to circulate European films. So I guess in general, the trends are similar in Europe, I would say, even if, and that was the same case before pandemic, of course, each countries are different. And that's maybe the challenge for us in Europe, but also the strength of Europe, the cultural diversity that we have, also a diversity of languages, but still we are divided a bit in East and West of Europe, because in East Europe, we miss often art house theaters, and it's a totally different situation. You often have a problem to get movies at all, while in West Europe, we partly say, oh, it's too much content, and people lose orientation. For the German market, the first, I guess it was everywhere the same. The first half of the year were quite difficult, because we had the strong Corona winter with Delta and Omicron wave. It hits the countries at different months, but at the end it was the same in Germany. Till end of March it was quite difficult. We had strong sanitary measurements, and partly is what not just don't go to a theater. It was partly, and that was a problem. On one hand, we did all to have safe spaces, and on the other hand, the communication was like stay at home, and not like no, now we have this safe environment and there you can go. But still, a lot of movies were postponed last winter, and in the first half, we had kind of the German market was minus 38%, but in for art house theaters it was minus 50%. And the last months, the situation were changing. What you said, same as in Greece, people were coming back. And especially in summer, you told about Worst Person in the World. It's had a release in Germany in May, and it was quite difficult. But it worked very well in open-air cinemas. So you could see in May a lot of people weren't already ready to go back to theaters, or said other priorities like meeting friends, family, travel, whatever. In general, for this year, I get from Comscore expectations. So for Western markets, and it's everywhere kind of minus 30 to minus 35%. It's a bit better in UK, a bit better in France. Third quarter was quite good in Germany, so at least one quarter of Germany was a bit better, but still we are behind the pre-pandemic level. That's what we see. What we see is we have a change in behavior at all. It's not first of all that people stream at home, especially the young generation knew about streaming before the pandemic. It's about often kind of a cocooning, especially the older generation stays at home, they're still careful. But we see also that a lot of young people come back, and we see it in Germany, and we talked here yesterday, in all countries, in all kind of cinemas, and even in the rural areas. It's not like you think it's the older that come back and the younger are in the digital world. No, vice versa. And today for Germany, I would say, especially for Arthouse theaters, we don't miss the young audience, we miss movies for a young Arthouse audience. And the market is still thinking old. And I guess we need, and of course it's more in Berlin and maybe in Athens, in London and Paris, it's not just about the age. It's about your history, your identification. Are you queer? Do you have migration background? Whatever, are you fighting for an equal society, for women rights, etc. That's also is depending what kind of movies you like, what you are interested in. So in all these risks we are facing, we see also these opportunities, but there's two things. The inflation. So at the end, the market is getting a bit better and better, but now we face on top an incredible increase of prices. And what you said before, Christian, in our talk before the panel, of course it's not easy. If cinemas, and especially cinema in rural areas, Arthouse theaters, hadn't such strong business models before the pandemic, and now we are hit by the pandemic and hit by inflation like all of us, it's a big risk. And we have to face, we maybe don't have only a crisis of cinema, but at the end it is difficult and we still have to get over it. But we have also a crisis of content, of cultural content. We see it not just in cinemas, we see it in theaters, we see it in museums, we see it in concert halls. The event works, and all other is doing way too bad. And for example, in Germany now, Triangle of Sadness was such an event movie. It was a huge success. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once was a huge success. A very young audience, much younger than before. But besides all other movies that we produce in Germany, all over Europe, have big problems, and we need to fight for this visibility. And it's too easy to say it's the theaters that do something wrong. We need to find a solution to get an awareness, to get a visibility for such kind of cultural diversity. And I guess it's also a common question to all of us. What do we have to do? Because that's why we love it. And I guess we are all agree. It's a movie theater. It's a theater where cultural content gets its contextuality. So we need it.
And briefly about the situation in Poland. So it became quite difficult, I must say. The numbers started growing last year in autumn, so we saw it's. But this year we can't see a progress, unfortunately. I think it's still around 55-60% comparing to 2019. It was a record-breaking year, by the way. But yes, what I can observe is that the festivals, including Horizons, are doing pretty well, and we had 85% of the 2019's numbers this summer, and the same similar numbers as in 2017. So we can see that viewers easily choose festivals, special events, reviews, pre-premiere screenings, which are extremely popular now in Poland. I mean, like the film, like Triangle of Sadness, is going to be released in January, but the distributor of the film, they have already 40,000 admissions. I mean, like on pre-premiere festival screenings, it's the film is, the distributor said, okay, the film is yours. You can do it. You can show it, but they're still waiting for for the official release. And it was the same with another round. It was during the pandemic. The film was in the cinemas like for many months, but not officially. And it gathered, I think, 80,000 admissions on pre-premiere screenings, and then official release, and then another 100,000 admissions. So completely different change of thinking, and all these probably affects the way cinemas curators program their venues. And you told it, and you told about it. So maybe it's I'm interested in is this trend. Is this trend? Is it everywhere? And maybe we should completely change our thinking about programming our cinemas and make it even more eventy, let's say. And yeah, I agree with young viewers. We can see that there's completely new generation of young people coming to the festivals, but also to the cinemas. I mean, really young. I'm 18, 20, 22, 25, like students. And it's very optimistic, but at the same time, we can see disappearance of 50-plus audience. And it was really the most loyal audience in pre-pandemic times. So, and the question is, so I have two questions. So first, about this event programming of the cinemas, and then what would be the best strategy? Should we stick with young generation and develop this part of this area of viewers, which it has like huge potential because it's our future, or maybe we should fight for this older generation to get them back to our cinemas. So Christian, maybe it's another way around. So you can start now.
Yeah, good question, because it's a question we also discussed last week in my company in Yorck. So we see this change, and of course you want all kinds of audience. You want younger, you want older. So that's also partly our mission to have this diversity, but still it's what language do we talk? And I guess for the moment now we need to focus more on the younger. So we see older people are coming back, and it changed even more after last winter. After the second lockdown, we had still more older audience, and I don't know with Delta and Omicron they get afraid of. Before they were happy they can go back, but now I guess it's a potential, and it's a bit hard to see older ones, but the young audience is a future of us. That doesn't mean that we don't screen movies for older people, but for example, what you said, people say, come back to our theaters and have been back in Yorck's. Now they come 2 or 3 times a year, and before it was 6 to 8 times in average. So it's a question, will it change again? I guess some of them take time, and maybe they will come back a bit more often. But first of all, and that's a big opportunity, that's a young generation where we thought before the pandemic, they are lost for theater. You can count how long you can survive. Hopefully we have medicine progress and they will survive till they are 100. And that changed. And that's quite of a very interesting development. So what we are doing, so we do a lot of digital customer communication. It's of course Insta, etc. But it's more and more TikTok, and especially YouTube is getting the most important for us. It's also the language you talk, and of course it can't be me. So what we say, listen to the younger members in your team, and I guess that's also one of the changes what we need. Often it's not here on the panel, but in a lot of companies it's the same. People are doing cinema since many years, usually male, usually well educated. And that's all
we
fine.
need young people.
We need young people in our team.
In the business.
And another
using
thing
different
is,
language.
in my opinion, is data. It's data, and it's very boring data. It's not just the online data. It's just look who lives in your neighborhood. Maybe just look how old are they, where do they come from, whatever. Use official data to analyze who's in your neighborhood, and then look in your audience who's already there. Perfect. Keep them in your cinemas. But maybe look also who else lives there. For example, Berlin has the biggest German Asian community. It's a lot of people who live there. And they weren't represented really in cinema. So we started before pandemic, and we had huge success with the farewell. And now we have even a film row special for Miss Asian films. It calls In the Mood. So for example, we had a re-release of Chungking Express this summer. It was every day sold out. It's 1996. Now we have In the Mood, it's always sold out. And that's a mix. That's, of course, also open-minded or interested film lovers. But it's a huge Asian communities that weren't at cinema before. So that's kind of a way to work. And then it's, of course, we talked about collaboration, but that's also maybe a bit more Berlin than rural areas. Sometimes Berlin is closer to London and New York than to smaller places. So if a European movie, has its release in the United States, then people ask, Yorck, do you screen this movie as well? So sometimes to us it's better to have a close release. It mustn't be the same date. But in the bigger markets and in the US, like Triangle of Sadness, first we said the film should come right after Cannes. And then we saw, Neon has started a release in the US at the beginning of October, and we say, no, keep the date, it's right after US, it's good. And that works, and I guess especially a young audience is more and more international. So that doesn't mean also it's a question of programming, it's a question of language, and it's also a question of where are they in this digital world. And at the end of the day, they love to have a real life because their social life were for 2 years video conferences. And remember, if we all were young, we wanted to go out with our friend, wanted to meet them. We didn't want to stay in a small room or with our parents. And I guess these are big opportunities.
Yeah, I wanted to add something to Christian's talk. We also, our cinema is located in the center of Athens where the Filipino community lives. So we also do screenings for the Filipino community and other communities, but it's not enough. It's like one screening or two screenings. It's not, you need to get the people to come to the cinemas at night. You need like on Saturdays to do 500 and 600 tickets. It's not easy to program only one event or two events. It takes a lot of work. Sometimes they work, sometimes they do not work, but you have to keep trying. At the beginning of October, we hosted the Athens International Film Festival in my cinema. It was very successful. Young audience were coming back. They're all there. But then, one day after the festival, we did nothing. They disappear, and they disappear like during the normal season, as we say it. And it's a challenge to bring the younger audience to the cinema. You have to be creative, and you have to do things that are really targeted to that audience. Yes, it takes a lot of work. It's not in the automatic, like you press the button and the audience is going to show up again. So I think we have to work more right now.
I think that first we have to ask ourselves if we would like to answer what strategies we have to follow. We first have to ask ourselves what our audience want to be. What audience do we want in our market, in our cinemas? For example, we want the young ones, we want the older ones, young children, youngsters. What is the audience? And a most important factor has to do with the budgeting. Which budget are we willing to spend in order to run our advertising campaign? And I'm talking not only for distributors, but for exhibitors too. Because after the pandemic, the cinemas and the exhibitors had also to run their own advertising campaigns in order to run the films. And of course, the titles of the films that independent cinemas had to screen and had to play in their cinemas were limited because distributors, as it is obvious, give most of the movie titles in the multiplexes and cinemas with up to 3, 4, 5 screens. So multiplexes can afford playing all the movie titles. For example, if I have a small cinema in the corner of the port and I have to play Triangle of Sadness, And there is a multiplex on the corner, and it plays 10 first-run movies and mainstreams. So it would be too difficult for me to survive, because it would be the period that I have to screen all that movies. It's gonna be longer, since I have only one screen in the middle in the middle of the port. So the strategies. I think that we have to take it opposite. What are the exhibitor needs and what are the distributor needs right now? Let me see the presentation. Okay, as I told you, exhibitors. What do exhibitors want? It is obvious that the exhibitors want just to play all the movies, mainstreams, Arthouse movies. They want to play everything, which is a little bit difficult nowadays. On the other hand, we have distributors. And distributors, of course, they want the most revenue of their movies, and they want their movie titles to be played and be screened in as many screens and cinemas as they can, as they want. So, in order to be creative, in order to have strong house cinema releases, this is what I was starting to telling you, that budget is very important for distribution and marketing is important also for exhibitors and distributors. So we have to make unique marketing strategy, unique marketing plans in order to achieve the best result. And also promotional strategies, which is not enough. Budgeting and advertising is not enough if we don't have the right promotional strategy for our movies as distributors, or as filmmakers, as producers, and or as exhibitors also, because a cinema must also run its own promotional strategy, and this has to do with the ticket price. We set up a price, for example, a lower price 1 or twice a week in order to attract more audience, and also we have to make quizzes, contests, social media, as you said. We invite influencers in order to run a campaign for our cinema. This is new for Greek, but I think that the years that are coming, it's going to be more profitable for our market. So, the cinemas, how are going beyond studio marketing to lure moviegoers back? Cinemas after the pandemic had also to concentrate to other things, such as how to allocate their bars, how to make people come to the cinema not just to watch a movie, but to do other things. For example, a family can come to the cinema. The cinema has to organize an event for small children. So it's not just watching a movie. And you know, most of you are not going to watch just a movie. You would like to participate in an event. You would like to participate in a Q&A, as those that we participate in the festival last day. And we have to do things in order to keep our audience alive and to bring them back to the cinema. The older ages have been disappeared. I don't agree that we need only young people. I think also the older ones. And we have to find a way to bring them from the sofa of their homes back to the cinema. It's not easy, but I think that we're going to make it. Distributors and exhibitors, I think this is a unique relationship between exhibitors and distributors. And why it is unique? It is unique because the distributor sells via and exactly to the exhibitor. It's not like a book. It's not like something that you need a wholesale to need a retail and then to sell to the last buyer. So this is a unique relationship, a distributor and the exhibitor. So a unique code of behavior which has to do with both to comply, to find ways to keep up of film making in order to have a common purpose, to have contracts between them that are easy to follow for both exhibitors and distributors. Flexible distribution contracts, as you see from my presentation. And of course, independent cinemas must be willing to have access to first release films. Because as I told you, independent cinemas with 1 or 2 screens, it is sometimes difficult to screen first release movies because distributors prefer first the bigger cities, and after the second week or the third week, they distribute the specific movie in the suburbs and the surroundings and other small cities. And think that this happens all over Europe, not only Greece. This is a phenomenon that must be eliminated, so as for cinemas to have the opportunity to play art house, mainstreams, and of course, main of the film titles. To come up to a conclusion, I think that we have also discussed a lot. The film industry is strange nowadays, and is strange not only in Greece. According to statistics all over Europe and all over the world, we see that, we observe that the numbers are now started improving, as Christian said. The market is getting better, and it's not only enough. The government also has to support cinemas. Here in Greece, we have also the Greek Film Center, which supports filmmakers, supports new producers, and of course cinemas. And during the pandemic, it made a very big effort to support cinemas with 1 or 2 screens. And efforts like that also had been applied to other European countries. So we all come up to the same conclusion that it's not just going to the cinema. Support is needed from all the factors. And of course, what I'm writing that engagement perspective. Let's talk a little bit more about why going to the movies is a good thing to do. The messaging that we are trying to do to create that engagement is more about why movie going makes sense versus just what the movie is playing. 2 different things. It's a food for thought. And of course, art house cinema nowadays must be supported, and of course in small areas and small cities, they operate as physical hubs for their local art communities. This is what I have to tell you, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Dear Mira, now you have 3 subjects on the table. So young audiences, then new programming strategies, and Ifigeneia anticipated my next question about relations, collaboration between distributors and exhibitors, good and bad practices. What changed recently? So now the floor is all yours. And what has to change, of course,
Okay. So, young audiences. I definitely think that we have to be very proactive with the young audiences, starting from baby age, kind of really from early children age. But it doesn't exclude the older audiences, because anyway, they were there. We know them. Kind of whatever made them, we know. Like the pandemic brought change of attitudes. I still think that they're kind of very close to the cinema theaters. It's not that many efforts that we have to do to get them back. But it's really, we have to do a little bit of work as distributors and as exhibitors, to see what these people need to find in the cinema. And for the physical hubs, I would say not only the small rural areas, but even in the big cities, because actually the multiplexes never managed to be kind of a center of artistic life, whatever title they're screening. Of course, I don't mean here the Arthouse multiplex in Wrocław. Yes. But
Of course.
you're one of the lucky ones. But yes, young audiences, old audiences, I wouldn't kind of make them something different. I would just differentiate them, that we need different efforts in the two different directions. For the young audiences, I do think that the cinema has to go in school. It has to be with the vision of the politics. Oh, we are kind of living in this audiovisual mode century. Oh, we are on our devices, which are audiovisual. I don't really get it why the cinema is not in school, like literature, because this is how you learn the language, and cinema is the language. So in the moment these kids start kind of getting into the depth of the language, then we want to see more. It is like we speak English because we learned English, kind of. Otherwise we wouldn't be able to communicate. So for me, it's absolutely a must, and it depends on the political bodies everywhere. Then for funding reasons, there is so much fund going for production, but where is the funding going for distribution and for exhibition, and especially supporting the creative approaches for this? As all we are ringing the bell that there is a problem. It's not from yesterday. It's not from today. It was happening. We could see it. So yeah, that's my second point for the funding, for the political vision also, because it has to come from a vision. What do we want from cinema? How we treat it? Is it really kind of cultural exception? And if it is, as I do believe, let's see what can be done. So in 5 years, let's say, we can have a result with instruments which are implemented. Including cinema in the education, engaging teachers, because of course teachers are the main figure to influence the children. If you don't get it from the family, you get it in the school. Young audiences. Talking about why I said babies, because actually what we are doing screenings for mothers with babies. So basically you just lower the light, lower the sound, and all the mothers with the babies, which doesn't have any other. They're so happy because they don't have many alternatives. Babies are crying, and if you know that here we are only mother with babies, it's okay if the next baby is crying, you just get out. But it's a great way to use the cinema theater in the morning hours when nobody is there anyway. And about distributors and exhibitors. For the young audience, I wanted to add something else. To involve young audiences into programming the cinemas. Obviously, we cannot involve them in the distribution model somehow, but in programming cinema, why not? Kind of, it could be a day where the young people are programming, or they're kind of expressing their wishes, what they want to see, but to be more kind of proactively involved, so they have a voice and they're heard. So then they, of course, I think it's valid for every human being. If I'm involved in something, I will invite all my friends. So this is how to get the young people into the cinema, to make them do something for the cinema, so all the friends around can come to share with them the experience. Coming to a global reach of audience experience, when I said, obviously people are watching films at home because the technology is allowing them, and the streamers and the TV are giving a lot of variety. But what the cinema theaters are still offering, this is the experience. And we have to see how to enrich this experience in emotion. This you can't get from the sofa at home. So would it be, okay, social experience, of course, you meet other people. So we have to create space for the cinema goers to meet these people. So after the screenings, to have something like, it could be, depending on the film team, it could be gourmet, wine tasting, food tasting, dancing, party, discussion on human rights or on green practices, on animal rights, kind of everything which is connecting people. So I totally believe that if we bring the emotion with the experience, people will be happy to share with us our cinema theaters. After that, I would like to focus on cinema theaters. Their brand, they have to be built as a brand, so the audience can easily understand, okay, this is my cinema, because they are bringing me the directors, I can meet the creative people, I can see these art house titles that I can't see anywhere else. So the brand is very easily targeted, kind of, it's easy for the brand to get the audiences. And
identity.
Identity, absolutely. And then the distributors, because they're in a different position, nobody cares who is the distributor somehow, kind of. The audience don't care. The cinemas do care, the professionals do care, but the audience doesn't. But here comes the relations between the exhibitors and the distributors, to understand that we are in the same boat, and we have to work together for all the promotion activities of the cinema theaters, and to help each other creating together events, because absolutely it's a time of resources. Nobody has that many people just to produce some creative events and to serve them. So if we unite forces, kind of sitting more often together, of course in the different countries, but to see how exactly we can collaborate to share the expenses, even it's something, and to see what is working better than what techniques are better than others. What I'm missing? No, there was a third question that I had to cover.
It's okay. It's okay. I have one comment about this film education from newborns to to death, and we have this New Horizons educational program, like in many Polish cities, from kindergarten to high school, and of course, like last 2 years it was a disaster because no one wanted to go outside, and it was like it was officially prohibited, like going to the theater, to the cinema from school, because of pandemic, and we had this online. We changed it to online, but showing films at school and then talking about it didn't work, but. From August we had like new edition, and 132 schools in whole Poland signed for the program, and it was like before the pandemic we had like 80, so it's like 50,000 students. So it's very optimistic. I mean, and it's I think it's our mission to to educate, to educate from really early stage of general education. That the cinema is important. It's not only fun entertainment, but it can be your tool to understand the world. And with relations between distributors and exhibitors, I can see the change now in Poland. I mean, like before the pandemic. Some distributors, mainly bigger ones, they were focused only on cinemas in big cities and forgetting about smaller, not so active areas, which in my opinion was a mistake. But they've recently understood that they need all cinemas, that every single viewer is crucial. I mean, like, it's a economic crisis, inflation, so you cannot, be picky. And I think there is this kind of course it's very difficult, but I feel that this starts this kind of solidarity, or it's okay, we understand each other now, okay, so we can cooperate, we can be more flexible, not like, okay, there's a film and you have to play the film 3 times a day in your cinema, and you have one screening room and there's no other choice. So I think it's changing, and I think it's we have to understand both sides. So maybe Ilias, maybe you could comment, because you're a distributor. So also,
yes, it's true that most distributors now are more flexible on their demands. Meaning that, as you said before, there was this norm of you have to screen the film on at least 2 screenings per day for a minimum of 2 to 3 weeks. Nowadays, you can see single screens in Athens and all over Greece, screening 3-4 different films per day. Well, that's something that the distributor doesn't like because he cannot capitalize on the release, but it's something that he understands now because he needs the cinema to be open, first of all. That's the only way mainly to survive now. I just wanted to reinforce what Mira said before, is that we also try to do many screenings with Q&A and with the participation of the director and the producer. This is something that the audience really much likes, and this is a way to engage the audience. They need to feel that cinema going is an experience. It's not only going to the cinema and that's it. It's something more. That's, I think, our main goal right now.
Christian, would you like to comment a bit?
So many is said. So if it comes, of course, a vision of our society, I guess it's quite important. We need, I guess, a collective spaces. We live in an digital world. It's good. It's a digital era, and of course, it's a lot of opportunities we have. And also, if we think about it's about cliches. And if we now talk about digital natives, they are getting 40 now. The digital natives that are not 18 years old or 20 years old, and in Germany, 94% know how to use the digital world, and even it's 80% of the people who are 70 years or older. So it's good, it's perfect, but it's also maybe our unique selling point that we have. We are an analog space in a digital era. It's difficult, but we all need it. We need this, what you said, connecting places, connecting people. That counts for us. It counts for big cities, and that counts for rural areas. Where do we see as a people, as a opinions? Where can we discuss? Where are we open? Maybe in Germany it's also the stadium, but it's also the cinema. And cinema maybe also brings together people of all ages, but also not everybody studied. It's like other cultural places. We are really this kind of connecting place. So that's important. I guess it's really important what you said, Mira, about film education, because we see it in the social media and we all get it, whatever medium we take. And it's really difficult, and we have so many fake news and whatever. And it's good that we debate. Maybe it's also good that we debate a bit more, even if it's sometimes uncomfortable. But at the end, we need this kind of discussion, but we need also to say no, and these are the borders of our society to discuss about this. So that's an important space, and we see for cinemas everything changed around us. The world changed. For all of us, we are living in a digital world, how people get informed about movies, how they buy tickets, whatever, they know how to stream. But the cinema experience is still the same. We are sitting together with other people. That's quite important. And now the question to how do we collaborate with distributors? And that's what I said. In a best case, it works because a movie has its momentum. Now I talk about Arthouse movies, not about a global released blockbuster. Even they can fail. It's also a big risk, our industry, but for our movies. So if it's perfect, then a movie's a success at a film festival, and it gets its momentum, and people like it, and post about it, and then it works. But what do we do with all the other movies? And there, what we are discussing about, so of course it's a pure amount of movies, and what we said before, so in a West Europe, we need to discuss how are European films, national films, at the end European films are Greek films, German films, French films, Italian films. How are these movies competitive? So first of all, it's quality, it's okay, but then we have a lot of high quality movies and they kind of fail. And now it's a question, after 2 years of pandemic, of course, there is no money in the market. Not with the world sales, not the distributors, also cinemas. We are all missing money to do big campaigns. At the end of the day, to be competitive, we need to do real campaigns. So, for example, for smaller films, to us, we right now see maybe platform starts can be better. So don't start a movie too big. A lot of movies in Germany are released too big with too many copies. Then screening rooms are kind of empty. People don't talk about. Exhibitors are frustrated. After this, distributor are frustrated because cinemas say, no, we don't want to screen this movie longer. So how do we create this event, this momentum? We can't guarantee. Here, a lot of politicians say would love to know how to create this momentum for their own party. It's not that easy. It's also to listen on a society, and sometimes it's just the wrong moment. Maybe you have the right topic and you fight for the right thing, but people are just not interested. That's always a risk of cultural diversity. But even then, we need the movies, and of course, it's also often important for the young filmmakers. Without Arthouse cinemas, where should be the next generation come to make big movies, maybe streaming movies or TV series? So that's a question. What can we do? How do we have to work? And in my opinion, we need a strong digital strategy for each movie, and that can only work in a strong collaboration between distributor or agency and the cinema. Why? We see, and we had it even before the pandemic, if you have a documentary, and then what you said, often it's just the day where the filmmaker is in your city, then it works. It's sold out. Maybe it's good for some movies to have this event, create events around movie, and then we have to be honest. So, okay, it's maybe good to have this movie a bit longer, but that's kind of this kind of event. And for other movies, we need to look where is a special audience. And a big success, a German success was System Crasher. It was a movie that had success at Berlinale, but usually would say, oh, it's a bit challenging. People won't watch such a story after work. But what did the distributor? So it was a very good movie, yes, but they did a quite good work before the film release, and all targeted groups knew before. And they were there, and they came, and it was a success, and other people talked about, and then medias talked even more about the movies. And I guess that's our challenge, and it can't be only done by a single distributor, not with his marketing budgets. And it also can't be done only by us as theaters, because we only don't have. We can organize a good event. What you said, I also have to underline, it's more and more work. So we just talked in the meantime, kind of, it feels like in the moment we have double of the work and get half of the income. That's also challenging, but that's also easy. Everybody's telling, I can do this, and this. But partly also we rethink in Yorck, because we are right now all kind of tired. Do we have to stop some events? It's sympathetic, people like it, but at the end of the day, it's doing more and more and more work. But does it all lead to more audience, or do we have to focus even more? Or we get other possibilities to finance the stuff. We also have to say, but at the end, and then I stop, it's to me to rethink this collaboration, because at the end we complain a lot, distributors complain about theaters and vice versa. At the end, with most of them, we work quite good. But it's a tiny boat, and in a tiny boat, sometimes it gets too tight, and then, of course, you have to discuss.
Okay, so let's not... Of course.
And also we have to note something that this is something that is happening in Greece. I don't know what is happening in your countries, all around Europe. Distributors now in Greece communicate each other in order when is going to be the date for their mainstream or art house releases, so as not to have the same week, for example, 10 exact movie releases. So as we see, the environment is changing, and we are leading to collaboration. As Christian said, the environment is getting better for both distributors and exhibitors, and of course this is what we all want, to have a unique relationship between them.
Can I add also something?
Of course.
Yes. About distributors. I still think that distributors are very conservative. And because they even don't consider the platforms as a complementary tool, because we can work also, okay, we know that part of the audience will never come to the cinema because of many reasons. But at least part of them we can attract after they start watching films on the platforms. At one point they might be curious to come to the cinema. For example, the heritage films, in the moment you can't watch them almost anywhere. So it's a way to build a new young audience, to make it, okay, here comes the question how they will make the jump, the quantum jump from sitting on the sofa to come to the cinema. But it's definitely an area that we have to focus efforts and partnership with the platforms and with the filmmakers. Filmmakers here are also crucial word, because they have to be more often in the cinema. I mean, they've made a film, come and present it, come and meet the audience, because this is for the future. It's not only for the particular title. It's for kind of to developing this relations with the audience and the partnerships in general. We have to get a little bit more of the model exhibitors, distributors, but to get out and look for other partners, like many NGOs and different companies, also business, which also have the interest to outreach the audience out there and have message to say, or want to give presents for the audience, or kind of if they are on board, it means that automatically we'll be reaching wider audience. So let's be more open for different partnerships, because of course we don't have the resources again. And even partnering with universities with some kind of the specialties there, like maybe art management, culture, different anthropology and things like that, because these young students also need to practice. What is better place to practice than coming to the cinema theaters and helping for cultural products to get to their customers? So many areas for me are kind of worthy exploring.
I think it's about time to be less general and more specific, and I would love to focus now on your success stories, to give some hope to all of us. That's why we're here. So which activities have been recently in this new era successful to your cinema store distribution companies? Ilias, I know you have a presentation, so maybe you could start with your examples.
So I have introduced myself already, you know who I am. And okay, so a little bit more about my work. Danaos Cinema is a two-screen cinema in Athens. We have a very big hall with 530 seats, and the other one has 100 seats. The way we operate it mainly is that we release the big release on the big screen, and then when the movie gets to 2 or 3 weeks after the release, we put it on the small screen to continue its run. I think that's something that it's common practice all over Europe. Danaos Films is our distribution company. We mainly focus on European titles, but we also distribute films from all over the world. We have started the distribution company in 2014 with the Italian film Viva la Libertà, which was a big success in Greece because it was released right after some elections. And yeah, it was funny. And we also operate Anesis Cinema, which is an open-air cinema, which is very popular here in Greece. Open-air cinemas in Greece, they're traditional, they're part of the culture. People embrace the cinema, and they're getting better results than the closed cinemas, as we call them here.
And you show new films also?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
like
When, like, I don't know, some 20 years ago, open-air cinemas only screened films that were like re-releases. They were coming back from the winter months. But nowadays, with the day and date releases, you can see huge blockbusters being released in open-air cinemas. And also, as I told you, because of this situation, you could see like Arthouse cinemas, Arthouse titles being released and doing pretty well. A good example was the Mads Mikkelsen film. What was it called? Another Round, yes. He won the Oscar, and it was released during the summer, last summer, and it was huge in Greece. So a bit of like general stuff we do to create a unique marketing and distribution strategy for your film. You gotta pick the right release date, and you gotta try to pick the number of cinemas. That's something that it's not very easy sometimes, because you try to, like, say, I had decided to release this film in 3 screens. And then all of a sudden, another cinema owner comes and said, "I want your film." And he said, and you have to say, "Yeah, but I want to keep it small." "Yeah, but I am a customer. You have to give it to me because I don't have anything else to screen." So okay, I'm going to give it to you. And then another one comes, and he said, "Okay, if I gave him to Christian, I got to give it to Ifigeneia then." And then all of a sudden, you have your release on your strategy to 3 cinemas, and then all of a sudden it gets like to 10. And okay, that's not a bad thing for a distributor. Yeah, but you know it's difficult. You have to keep those balances. You gotta identify your goals, of course. You gotta try to be realistic about the number of admissions and the weeks that the films are gonna be played. And I think the last one, you gotta spend wisely. You don't have an unlimited budget. You have some money to spend on your films, and you have to see how much money you're gonna spend with the results that you're gonna get. So this is my first success story. I talked about it a little bit. It's The Worst Person in the World. It did 20,000 admissions in Greece. It's a very big number for an Arthouse title, and Norwegian too. The release was during the summer. Apart from the basic marketing strategy and material that compromises trailers, posters, photographs, social media, I think that the key to success to that film was the time between the first screening. We did a premiere in the Athens Film Festival, and the film kept generating buzz, kept getting awards. People were really asking us when the film was going to be released, and we decided to release it during the summer. And I think it was a wise choice. We tried to have mainly women influencers and articles saying that the girl in this film is you. You gotta come and see this film because this is about you and this is about your life, like a personal message to the audience. So, first of all, Ronnie James Dio. Do you know who this guy is? No? Okay. So, yes, like that. There is this very famous heavy metal group called Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath, it was a huge heavy metal group during the 70s. The lead singer was Ozzy Osbourne. Everybody knows who Ozzy is. So when Ozzy left Black Sabbath, Dio came along to be the lead singer. But then Ozzy was like a legend. They were like, "Oh man, Ozzy is leaving Black Sabbath. How can someone replace Ozzy?" And Dio came along, and he was considered nowadays maybe the biggest or the best vocalist of all time in heavy metal. So you can see this is a very, very specific target group of people. So we did 1 screening in 1 cinema in 1 night. And there was this sense of urgency that you have to come now. You gotta have today because the film is not gonna be screened again. So, of course, we couldn't do a huge marketing campaign because most of the people don't know who Dio is, and they didn't care about like watching a dead heavy metal singer. So we did a collaboration with Metal Hammer, which is the most influential heavy metal magazine and site in Greece. And it was very, very targeted. We did TV interview, we did some trailers of the film, and it was only targeted to that audience because we only needed 500 people. That's our capacity. And we did it. We filled up the screening room, and we sold a lot of beers. A lot of beers, yes. Yes, many, many beers, yes. And the atmosphere was like a rock concert. And you saw people with hair like that, like people that you never saw in the cinema again, never. And I'm bet they're not coming back again. But they came for this event, for this film. So another example is a Greek release we did called Prostimo, Immersement. The film was first screened in the Thessaloniki Film Festival online. It didn't do a physical screening. The film is peculiar in a way that it is very violent. It is very. It has a lot of trash talking and like people saying really bad words. And we were in discussions with the director and the producer when to release it. As you all know, the directors are like, I want it to release now. I cannot wait anymore. And it's like, wait. Now is not the time during the pandemic. We're going to find a good date. So I told them, I have a strategy for this. We're going to release it on the first day that cinemas are going to be open again. And he said, I cannot wait until May. You have to wait until May. So we released the film on the first day cinemas were back. And it was a huge success. People were coming to the cinema just, I want to see anything. Yes, like people were coming in the cinema with flowers, with chocolates. It's great to be back. And well, the key to success to that film was on the first day cinemas reopened, okay. And another thing is that we were the director and the cast of the film were fully involved in the promotion. So I told them, you gotta be in the cinemas every night. You gotta be one day in my cinema and then on the other night, on the other day. And that helped the film because the director and the stars were really active in social media too. So there was a collaboration between the producers, the distribution, and the cinemas. That's it for my part.
Mira, Ilias sold a lot of beer, so what's your success story?
Well, we are kind of more into wine. But I was listening very carefully to Ilias because it's always kind of very inspiring to hear what the colleagues are doing. And I will give our best examples with documentaries. It was in April, and we managed to get That Much I Know to Be True by Andrew Dominic. It's a documentary about Nick Cave, and it had this kind of global premiere on a particular date. And of course, there was no distributor for Bulgaria, but it was kind of as a cinema, as a
special screenings, like
exactly.
You could have it on special screenings like worldwide.
Absolutely. We negotiated 3 screenings because for one screening it's not worthy to translate it. I mean, it doesn't make sense. But then kind of directly with the sales agent, and it was a very successful event. Kind of people which would never come to the cinema, fan of Nick Cave came. It was really emotional. And after that there was an evening of Nick Cave with a record player with vinyls, kind of only playing Nick Cave. So a lot of wine, yes, was sold out. But actually we are not managing the bar, so we don't care that much about how much wine we are selling. Yeah, that's absolutely important. Actually, we are renting it out. It doesn't make sense, but yeah, just a kind of saying it's very important for the cinema really to have a bar. I mean, the bar as a social space.
Alcohol is the key to success.
As a social space where the people can come and meet each other and discuss about the films. But connecting with this film, I want you to mention this because there is a comeback to the vinyls, kind of to the records. And we're working with a partner, as I was saying, attract new partners. So they're just selling records, but they're great. They're doing also music film festivals. So every time when we have a film connected with music or something, we're making an event, or we're inviting them also to make record flea markets in the cinema. So this way we are managing to get people which are interested in music and coming to get records. So it's a different trend that we are developing. That's also for another success story, which is a small documentary, Antonio Lopez. Maybe you haven't even heard about this. It was a small documentary. It was at Tribeca like 2 years ago, but we kind of liked it. Antonio Lopez came out to be a very, very famous graphic designer, but connected with New York scene in the 70s, disco 70s. Kind of, again, we made a dress party after the film, kind of wildly announced, come dressed in the 70s. So this is how we managed to attract an audience which was much more into graphic design, which was much more into the disco cloud and into the New York scene. Totally new people, but what we're expecting, once we bring these people into the cinema and once they like the film, the experience to come back. That's why we are offering experiences and building experiences. And that was, but for all these initiatives, actually we had a backup from a project that European Commission launched several years ago, Cinema as Creative Hub, Innovation Hubs, which again is trying, this project was a pilot one, but was trying to put the cinema as a center of the local communities, because there is nothing else left. And cinemas are kind of the place that after the screenings, people can get together and talk.
It's extremely important, I think.
It is, and it's for the cohesion of the society even. Kind of, no places are left anymore, kind of, where the people are meeting each other and talk. I don't know many other places than the cinema theaters.
Another point of view, cinemas and success stories do not absolutely have to do with movies or famous actors and examples like this, but cinemas can run also other campaigns in order to attract the audience and people to the cinema. I'm going to give you an example of my cinema, which is a family business before the pandemic, and by trying to attract more audience on European films, because in one of our screens we have only European and Arthouse releases, and in the other one we have the mainstreams. So in order to attract people and to show them European movies and Arthouse movies, we selected a day of the week, Thursday. We had a reduced ticket price, and we had wine for free. So every Thursday we had a special campaign, cinema, reduced price, and wine for free. And after the movie, it's the opposite. And after the movie, and it's Thursday, I have to tell you that we had a special guest, an actor, a local director, or somebody who is famous about his cultural content. He was invited in our cinema, and after the movie, he had to do the Q&A with the audience. They had to talk to each other, and people were sitting in the cinema just drinking their wine and talking. I have to tell you that the first week that we started doing that, we had 10 people. The second week we had 20, and after the first month, the cinema was crowded. And every Thursday they were coming because first, it was the ticket price, of course the movie, the ticket price, and the wine, which was free for everybody. And you know that in rural areas and in small cities, it is important for people to sit and talk for a subject that is forbidden to tell in small cities, or it is a subject that somebody, a woman or a little girl afraid of being expressed. So it is very important to have somebody to talk, somebody to tell your own story, but without telling your own story. For example, a friend of mine had gone someday there, and he lived his own experience. So This way, they started expressing themselves, their own stories, and this was famous in our town. And the whole town now knows that every Thursday is going to the cinema, because also the price is lower, and of course they have the wine. Thank you.
Veria. Yes. Are you going on Thursday?
It's half an hour away, yeah?
Thursday.
So we see alcohol matters. Windowing matters too still, but if it comes to, it's quite interesting, this best practice, and we see all over Europe, it's to work or use cinema more and more as an event and being part of your local community. I guess this matters, and if we see the best art house cinemas all across Europe, if they're in a kiez, in a neighborhood, in a big city, or if they're in a rural area, it depends on this kind of partnership, also what you said, Mira. And so I talked, for us, it was this in the mood, it was this working, for example, with the Asian German communities, that's quite important, but also what you said, keeping things short. So it's maybe also an economic principle, but maybe you remember Fleabag, the TV show. And before it was a famous TV show, it was a theater play. And after the success in series, had nothing to do with films, but using the space, we screened this theater plays. So at the end of the day, it was years old, and it was always sold out. And we made it like you. We always offered only three screenings, only 3 screenings. And when they were sold out or almost sold out, we said, like, now we have additional 2 screenings. And I talk about Kino Internationale, and there's 550 seats. And Rollberg. So we did it in 2 theaters and always waiting till it sold out, keeping it short. People came, you have only this date, and people talked about. I guess that's also part of this diversity, what we have. And then it's not just with Asian movie, it's classics at all. We see it that especially the young generation is very interested in classics. But if I talk about classic, I mean movies from 1990s and younger. And maybe that's also kind of a place where it's a maybe fruitful, not really collaboration, but coexistence between streamers and cinemas. Because there is, people are interested for audiovisual content. And then it's sometimes the people who come back, so my age, want to see it again, Kill Bill, whatever, but Pulp Fiction. But the youngest, because they know their parents talked about, today it's not like before. So before the 68 generations, there was a much bigger gap between parents and kids. That's not today. Usually it's kind of in the same environment. So they want to watch what they've seen. And maybe that's also about what we're doing in sense of curatorship at cinemas. Because, so I don't want to blame distributors, but there are months where kind of a lot of good and strong releases, but then there are weeks and months where we don't have a strong art house release. And then maybe today it's more on us to build our program and to see what we can use. So can we work with some movies that are released? Yes, we have to, we will. But also create our own program and then do it with local partners, with cultural partners. And then if it's about partnership, but it's also a bit maybe Berlin, but it's important. I guess we have to redefine partnership. For us, we work kind of much closer with the Berlin startup scene. We are very connected to the Berlin startup scene. For example, our new website, all what we do is with Contentful. That's one of these IT unicorns. And they love cinema, they love us, so maybe they did it for us, so we had to pay. But that's important. And maybe we have to rethink the partnership between cinemas and distributors, and not in, I mean, in complaining, but how does it mean? And with this kind of partners out of our usual industry, you work different on a project. You have this common project because maybe we work too long together already. It's all like it always was. No, you think very different, and maybe that would be good, as we are kind of, we need to be a traditional industry. We can't reinvent everything without having a new existing business models, but maybe, and we're doing now in Germany a lab between distributors and exhibitors, and we try to find out, we look on best practice in other countries, but maybe at one point we need to dare to try it a bit differently. No, and I guess that's quite of important to have as basis think we are partners. And that's not often and always like this.
Yeah, I think it was excellent conclusion. And now it's time for your questions. Feel free to ask one. We have Alice.
Well, it's not only a question, it's a remark. Actually, every one of you are telling us about the events. And as Ifigeneia was mentioning, when you are not in the capital city, organizing events are very costly for the cinema. Because, so I don't know how it works in Poland or in Germany or in Bulgaria, but most of the time we want to do premieres of Greek films, we want to bring the director, and we do, but it's always at we pay for it. And at the end we can, because we are a big organization, but I'm thinking of all these smaller towns and smaller cities and cinemas that cannot afford to bring the director. And I'm sure the film, it has to do with a global strategy, with distribution. When you buy a film, do you allocate enough money for the avant-première, which are so important now? Half of the, Marcin was mentioning at the beginning that almost half of the incomes of some films come from the avant-première. So especially for the national films, because you don't even have to fly somebody from abroad. Use the director, use the actors, go to Veria, go to Thessaloniki, and maybe it's also a matter of it's a negotiation between the distributor and the sales agent. We should go maybe before, when you buy a film as a distributor, do you have to present to the sales agents the budget for marketing and communication, or you just pay for the fee and take the film? I really think that there should be from scratch some money dedicated to avant-première and preparing the release. By the way, is because you were saying also that the films, you have so many avant-premières which are doing very well. The national release concept, is it still something that, let's be crazy, well, the distributors will kill us anyway if we kill the concept of a national premiere, but it's true that, in Thessaloniki, we don't have some time, or in Veria, we don't have the first week. But if we have the means to make the film exist, because we share the budget with the distributor, or we bring the director the second week, we don't care. We will make it. So it's just sharing some thoughts, and that's.
Can I just say something about this? Yes. You're saying you're in Thessaloniki and you're in Veria, that you don't have access to the first week of the film.
No. We want to have access.
You want
but
to access,
sometimes we
yes.
don't.
But to me, this is maybe like a good thing in some ways, because me, as in Athens, we're a central cinema, and the release is based in our cinema and other 2 or 3 in Athens, and we're kind of forced to take a chance on a film. So you don't have to take that chance. You can wait to see the results and then say, okay, maybe I don't want to screen the film, or I'm going to be screening it on a limited time. So we are like the guinea pigs. We are the ones who have to screen the film, and then you see, okay, I don't want it anymore. So I would like to have that chance sometimes.
You have to commit before anyway. So.
Yes, but that the commitment has risks.
My comment was more about the small in the small towns and kind of rural areas, and something that we are doing as distributors. We are using the brand of the festival, Sofia Film Fest, but actually we are doing a tour around small Bulgarian town the whole year round, where even they don't have cinema theaters. Some of them have, some of them don't have at all. So we are bringing the equipment. We are bringing a screen, we are bringing the sound system, the projector, we are bringing everything. But this is kind of, I would call it alternative distribution, but this is what you are doing when you want to develop it and when you want to reach places where people don't have access, or small kind of theaters. But this, let's say, if you're a distributor, I think everybody can do that. Just using a brand. Okay, we're using Sofia Film Fest because it has a big PR machine. So why don't we use the PR machine? But let's say if you don't have a festival, again, a distributor can create a brand, some title, I don't know, funny films, love films, gourmet films, something to be recognizable. Otherwise, you cannot travel and it's more costly. But this, it can come with partnership with these small towns, with the municipalities in these small towns, because they will be also kind of interested to bring a cultural content into the small rural areas. Again, about partnerships, to be more proactive.
Yeah, we do the same with small New Horizons replicas in small towns. You know, you can call you can call it the review like New Horizons. It's okay for us. We can promote it even. And it's very important for them because it gives okay, it's a brand, so well established, so it's helpful. But I think it's also a matter of local people, their creativeness, because the most influential, the best film discussion club in Poland, it's in a small town like Mazur, the Lake District of Poland, and 15,000 inhabitants. But they created this, really dynamic, active place. Of course, the audience is very mature there, but still, and it's a very safe place to talk about, about everything, about life. They're going to show close, and it's a perfect film to just talk about, sensitivity, about young people. It's about traumas and it's not expensive because we, as a distributor, we can give the film like really it's 50-50. It's not like okay, you have to pay MG, like high MG, or because otherwise we wouldn't have films there. So it's I think it's also important mission, and we know that there's an audience, and they do this really regular. It's a regular, permanent job, like everyday job. It's. I think it's very important.
It is.
Yeah.
Even if you don't win out of this, for developing this.
Yeah. But we trusted them 5 years ago, and now it's like the best film discussion club, and all the moderators or journalists, they want to go there to present the film and talk to people, and it's funny. So again, it's like creating some kind of a brand, to have a place with identity, to create this local hub or like cultural center. It's not like the cinema, like we used to think like the cinema, it's a place where we show films. No, it's a place, we create a place just to spend time.
We share.
Yeah, we share. Yeah.
I think that what Elise asked was quite different. Elise asked how we can raise resources in order to run premieres in our cinemas, and what can distribution can do about that.
Yeah, but only so I love your question, because I guess that's exactly the question we have to raise. What I meant before, rethink partnership means also rethink our behaviors, cinema and of course distribution. And I guess it's unfortunately the answer is different, because for example in Germany we see that a lot of small art house movies, documentaries, if the film team is traveling around Germany, then it works quite good. I don't know, you know, maybe Volker Schlöndorff, he won an Oscar. He had a documentary now, his first documentary this year, Der Waldmacher. And I don't know, I guess he was in 50, 60, 70, 80, over 80 cities. And it worked. So it worked this evening, Volker was there. But then at the end of the day, it was for a documentary, kind of a good success, not worse than it would have worked before. Or Dieter Koslik, our former film festival director, he wrote a book. He loves cinema. And then he called us. I said, he has a good book, and of course, he's good on stage and everything. And said, I travel to all cinemas. They can decide for a movie from my festival years. And I talk about my book. And it was always full. And he sold his books. He was happy, and cinema were happy because it was sold out, and it worked. And but it's different, of course, for big releases, especially in rural areas. It can be a big problem if you don't get a movie like Avatar in the first week, because then kind of you are out. And then there are different movies in Berlin, Arthouse movies. We discussed with our colleagues, so other cinemas, competitors. And because on the one hand, it's like this, that's the next best Arthouse release, everything he wants to screen exactly this movie. Right now, say so, if we all have the same movies, the same time, even in my group, not every cinema gets the same movie. It's better keeping things short, start it, get it to a success, and say, tell me, it's Kino, for example, it's much better to them. They get a movie in the 5th week, but it's a success because then it's a long-run success. Then have it the first week, and all theaters have it in Berlin, and nobody shows up at the end. So that's, I guess, difficult. And what I think it's a key is collaboration. So what we try when we don't get the filmmakers to all cities, then that's also use the kind of digital Q&A, try to make kind of small premieres. Sometimes it's possible, but if it's a huge thing, and then partly small cities tell us, it's good to us to tell it's a big event in Berlin, because kind of then it's good. So, but it's also kind of a narrative. If you say, so you can't do it, of course, with a big mainstream thing, because then you know, we are only in the small city. But if you say, here's something alternative, and it's a good team and good people around, tell a story around, then sometimes this works quite good. But yes, still some theaters in small areas tell me, they need a fixed date. That's more important than the audience waits. When they don't get a fixed date, it's difficult. But we need to rethink, as it is. It's also this local event to create. And I guess that's a big challenge. And another thing, what you said, I guess it's about building tastemaker brands. And we cinemas are kind of a tastemaker brands. That people trust us, trust the curatorship, trust us specific. So in US, Neon is now a tastemaker brand. If Neon has a movie, some people know, that might be interesting. It comes from Europe to US. It's great. And maybe we also need to think about building up this tastemaker brand. It might be a cinema, but maybe we find other ways to get this awareness and visibility. And for this reason, maybe, of course, it's the first week, but maybe it's even more.
We have a question here, and then the other one.
Thank you. I'm one of those notorious politicians from Berlin who tend to show up all the time. I have a split question. The obvious one is, what can politics do? I think, Mira, you mentioned funding should concentrate more on theaters as well, not only on production. So what are your suggestions? What should we try to improve? Then you, Marcin, mentioned you got the schools back in cooperation. How did you do this? Because it's a big problem for us to convince schools to cooperate, especially teacher. Then the one more question, festivals. What relationship do you have as cinemas to festivals? Is that perfect? Is that something for the future? Or is it something that, since yesterday we discussed what is the festival of the future going to look like? What's your view on this? Thank you.
So yeah, I think the first question was about,
about what we do, what politicians can do to support the cinema theaters and distribution. Raise the money. Have a vision that it's really unproportionally supported in Europe. Of course, different countries have different legislation, but in most of the countries, the distribution and exhibition, the cinema theaters are not really supported, or not kind of smartly supported. And it's, of course, here we are talking about vision, what we want to have. We want to have stable, sustainable cinema theaters, as they're kind of risky places. If they're screening premieres and films, art house films, which are not that open to the audience on first reading, we have to develop this audience, so they need support. That's why kind of money for cinema theaters and for distribution to be more kind of to come with projects. Of course, it's not automatic. I wouldn't say that it has to be automatic support. It has to come based on a project which is based on creative approaches to attract audience and to develop the audience. And I'm sure that in every country, like in Germany, you will find kind of the right experts, the right people to shape it, but it has to come from the politicians to have the vision. When you have the vision, you know what you want to have. These stable theaters were kind of hub for development of the communities and for the children and for yeah. And the second question for the festivals. Teachers, I think Marcin will take over.
So our program was established 17 years ago, so it was like a lot of work. But I think it's there are two keys or three keys to success. I mean, like the first one is to have local cooperators, local collaborators. I mean, like the cinemas, but also schools. But you know, we're based in Warsaw, so we can't do everything. You know, we won't persuade a school in a town which is 400 kilometers away. So we need to cooperate closely with the cinemas, and the cinemas they know teachers, they know school directors, and so then to create a program which is really into general school program. It's not out, creating something. Okay, let's watch films during your school days, but it's really glued to the school material. So I think this is very important, and preparing really good didactic materials for teachers, which are modern. And I think it's very important, not boring ones. And then you have to take a risk and propose films which are good for the audience, attractive, not only, very serious ones, but also sometimes through entertainment, you can reach young people's minds. And so I think finding good balance, that it's not only, it's education and entertainment at the same time, and kind of a mission in between.
And I would like to add here the complementary of the school material, because so many subjects about society, about history, about languages, about culture, music, everything, they're incorporated into the films. So it's better, and as a messenger it works better, instead of having somebody teaching you all the time, kind of in the vertical relationship. Just create a film and raise Q&A after that, kind of to have this interaction. It's kind of innovative, but it comes to the teacher. Teacher has to be involved and to know what education for teachers also, I suppose, and I think you're doing it in Poland exactly this way. But for festivals, actually both we are doing festivals, we have the same model. Cinema, distribution, festival, and a co-production market. And we're producing. Okay.
Your question was about also the relations between festivals and distributors. So I think it's in Poland with our festival it's symbiotic. I mean, like we work with all distributors, with the major ones like Universal, the smallest ones. I think they understand that it's good to launch the film at New Horizons, because you can create some kind of a buzz, and it will pay off. So we are paying good fees, good MGs, I think,
Same with
reasonable
us.
ones. So I think it's just good cooperation, and we understand that the opportunities we in both sides.
And yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of needed cooperation, because for the distributors, they use the PR machine of the festivals. They use this outreach, the brand. And for the festivals, of course, they use the new titles, which we need all the time, kind of. And it's very important. And we are bringing the filmmakers. Usually it goes like cooperation. They will give the film.
They can have all the interviews during the festival.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly. So, but beside that, I want to underline here the important role of the film festival, because in most of the territories, they are the only place that you can watch films from everywhere. You can't have this in the distribution and in the cinema theaters, but festivals are the only place which are still keeping the information, kind of still are supporting these film people, film buffs, because otherwise where they can see, not on the television, definitely, and the festivals are the only gate. So for me, the festivals are becoming much more important than ever, and they're also serving as alternative distribution, because many titles will never be screened in some territories, but at the festival, at least with 3 screenings, they will reach some audience. And sometimes, if there is an interest from the audience, there might be a local distributor who will get the film for further release. Mm-hmm.
There was a question, and
hi. It's very interesting because all 5 of you represent 4 different countries with very different programming strategies, and I was maybe wondering if you could share the specifics of each one of your programming strategies and specifics. I'm thinking of the difference between, for example, the Greek market that Ifigeneia and Ilias explained is kind of divided between the summer season in open-air cinemas and a winter season. It usually works with 2 screenings per day. And I'm thinking back to maybe a French model in smaller cities where a small art house cinema will work all year round with an indoor cinema with different titles screening at different hours. And so even if it's just 3 screens, it might be able to screen more than 3 films every week. So maybe share with us the specifics and the best practices you've identified in your territories.
that's a huge question, actually. So.
I just want to say one thing to you is that I remember every time I talk to a cinema owner from Northern Europe, like from the Netherlands and Germany, and like Christian was telling me that they start their screenings on Sunday at 12 o'clock. For us Greeks, that's crazy. Yes. Greek people are not going to come to the cinema at 12 o'clock because we'll go off for coffee. It's in the culture. It has to do with the weather too. Like us in the Southern Europe, we have great weather. People prefer to be outside. People prefer to do other things. And I think one of the main reasons is that. It's not that we do not want to make screenings before 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, but people do not come. Like we try to do the baby screenings. We try to do some documentaries. Documentaries are better, but if you screen your like a normal film that you're going to be screened at night at 12 o'clock in the evening with a reduced price, the results are not going to be there.
Yeah, in Poland, 10 p.m. it doesn't work.
In Greece,
like
it does.
Opposite. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's because it's getting dark at 3 p.m. During winter, so it's like it's middle of the night. But 11 a.m. On Sunday or Saturday for like films for children is like perfect, absolutely perfect timing.
A week ago.
Probably it's like weather, some cultural context. I think it's For us, summer it's the worst. I mean, for festivals it's okay, like for open air screenings for festivals, but for regular repertoire it's only blockbusters, multiplex cinemas. But in our art house cinema it's like it's just empty, and then it's like from October to March to April it's like the perfect time to release films.
It's a bit different. So I guess it's also a bit also of behavior. So in Berlin, people don't go to church; they go to cinema. Maybe so that's also a reason. But I guess, of course, it has to do with weather. It's in Munich worse than in Berlin. And especially Sunday is the day where it's depending on the weather. A great day, even in winter, Sunday is sunny, it's much less people, and best is Sunday rain. It's best for culture, for all kind of culture. But in the afternoon, not Sunday evening, it's Tatort. But no, and people need to get. But I guess, and of course, it's first of all the winter. It's dark. It's not that many other events. It's not that many people who travel. People who travel can't go to a theater, whatever. But still, summer holidays are quite good. Maybe the worst period in Germany, it starts kind of April, May, June, and maybe that's when it gets brighter, and then we have the shift in time, and it's longer with daylight. So people prefer then to go out. Maybe that's really a difficult period. But with the other, and it's also a cliche, we had big successes in all months of the year. And that's one of the cliche, everybody's old. We had one of the biggest successes with releases in June. In June, everybody goes on holiday. Sometimes it's soccer, not this year, but usually. But then we had our own release with The Lobster, because the German distributor of The Lobster didn't believe in this movie. It was Sony, and so he said, no release. So we waited, and then we got it from Park Circus 4 months after video release. And we started it in June because we had another movie, and it was maybe the third successful film. So also Toni Erdmann started in summer. So it's about quality, it's about talking, because even during a football championship, whatever, people don't watch every night TV. And in summer, movies are longer in the theaters. So of course you can have bad luck, but at the end it's about quality, it's about creating an event. But in Germany, of course, we have not such a summer-winter event. Good for theaters, for personal life. I also like good weather when it's warm in the evening. And open air, for example, Berlin is now so many open air cinemas, and it really works. So I have 2 open air cinema. One has 1,000 places plus, and not in the Corona summers. We had to reduce a bit the capacity, but people love this kind of event. And in our open air cinemas, they go to second best. Then it's partly really, cinema is still the event. I want to go out, I want to do something in the evening. And then they go also to a cinema where maybe in winter they would say, oh no, I'm not that interested, just because being out. That's different, and in that sense, open air also offers different opportunities for us.
Before we close the conversation, I would like to refer a very pleasant news for the Greek market. Last week, days ago, on 27th of October, we had the celebration of cinema. This was a movement that the distributors decided all over Greece. So all cinemas, all screens, with a ticket price of €2 only. I have to tell you that all the movies and all the cinemas were being sold out. It was a very nice movement from the exhibitors, and we hope to do this again, probably in the summer period. This was very, how can I say, something that the exhibitors and the audience were expecting for the people to come to the cinema, and we hope next year to be better and better. And I don't know if you have relevant efforts in your countries or other European cinemas.
Coming back to your question, just for a kind of, I think all the conversation was about that the general approaches are not working anymore, actually. And we have to be much more creative and considering all the specific of the movie as a theme, genre, everything, what we can get how we schedule it, what events we do with this. Because on a general level, of course, we know after people finish work, July, August are dead, and kind of like that. But that's the point of this conversation, where the general things don't work anymore. So what we do, kind of, and that's it for me. Consider the specifics of every title, how to schedule it, at least one event per title, let's see, kind of being, and using even the night hours, because, for example, the documentary about Ronnie James Dio, it could be put in the evening also, it could be at midnight, or it could be kind of series of rock films, which would be happening the whole night. We did an event like, okay, it was erotic, Nymphomaniac, 1, 2, and we had another Danish film now. I can't recollect the title. The whole night with coffee, with croissants, with wine, and it was sold out for hours. Just offer the whole night space, because obviously for people that worked. But again, I'm hitting into being creative for every title, and that old model is kind of disappearing.
Creating new rules of the game. Yeah,
exactly.
On this stage. There was a question here.
Just one last remark. Thanks so much. Yeah, my name is Christian Gorni, member of the Berlin House of Representatives, and I loved very much that you were pointing the fact that cinemas are places, cultural hubs. I think you named it, and a lot of social getting together is taking place there too. And so maybe, Christian, what we should take from this discussion here is that we have more to point out that this is another important role for cinemas. They are cultural hubs. So we're talking a lot about marketing, industry, commercial things, but of course you need this to exist or to survive. But to take for the politics or for the politicians is that we should treat them like theaters, like operas, like other cultural places, and that they have a function in the small cities and in the big cities. And I mean, in Berlin, we are not that industrial city, so I always say that culture in Berlin is our heavy industry. And this is the real important thing that we have to point out, and putting the cinemas into this row with other cultural places we have in the cities, even if they are big or small, that should be a very big support, we should organize a big support also for cinemas to have them and to exist in the future. Thank you.
Okay, unfortunately we need to finish. I hope we gave you some inspiration, hope, motivation, although the times are quite difficult. So thank you very much, my dear panelists, and have a great festival.
Just something. I think, Christian, you want to announce something for tonight? Yeah.
No, I just want to mention that Berlin Saloniki, our creative network, and the Medium Board Berlin Brandenburg, and our network Octopus Garden, we're having a Berlin Saloniki film party tonight at Arthouse bar, and I think it's Valorito, the part of the city. Yes, and yes, you're invited to join us there tonight for some drinks and good talks, and we can continue there. And thank you so much.